Welcome back to the Sully Scoop, where three lifelong Husker bros dive in depth on all surrounding the new era of Husker football, where our cups never run dry of the Rule-Aid under head coach Matt Rule. Made by fans for fans with J-Saul, B-Saul, and T-Saul. Welcome into the Sully Scoop again, the number one Cornhusker podcast out there. This week, we are going to be giving you our season predictions, game-by-game matchups, and it's going to be a good one here coming for you.
Well, we already know the Kool-Aid's flowing for all of us, so we may as well just jump right into
Whoa, T-Saul, when the heck did that change? When did you guys get on the Kool-Aid train over here?
The moment Dylan Raiola came into town, baby.
You better believe it. We've been on the
train, hit a brick wall and stopped on the spot.
Rule for president is what we are here for.
So yeah, I mean, like I was saying, we may as well just jump right into it. Let's talk about UTEP. And I hope I don't see an L for you guys.
I think this is going to be the first game in 6 years that we're going to come out and win the first game of the year. The Huskers have to absolutely knock off UTEP. It could get, be a little dicey till half, but that's with a freshman quarterback. And I think Dylan Raiola at the helm will get the job done.
Yeah, I expect this to be a win as well. When you look at it, like J-Saul said, Huskers have had really a tough schedule opening the seasons the last couple of years and just haven't been able to get it done. This year, you're opening against UTEP. You're basically giving yourself that cupcake row at the beginning of the season, and I'm here for it. And let's not forget here, last year, UTEP opened the season against Jacksonville State, which is where our buddy Logan Smothers transferred to, and they beat UTEP, so therefore we have to do it.
Yeah, I'm marking this one in as an easy blowout for us. J-Saul's wrong. It's not going to be dicey until halftime. This is a blowout. This is a blowout game. Let's move on to the next.
Now, T-Saul, I would agree with you on that, because let's also remember that last year that Northwestern team blew this UTEP team out of the water 38-7.
Well, we can bring up old teams and we can talk about Northwestern's only win in 2022, which happened in Ireland when they took down the Huskers. Last year's stats don't matter.
Well, so that's when Northwestern was not very good. They weren't winning any games. It's before they, put it all together to make their bowl game.
Exactly my point, saying that last year's stats don't matter. That Northwestern could go and have one win during the season, then come back with a coach that's fired a month before the season starts and make a bowl game. The season before stats don't matter.
J-Saul, I would agree that the season before stats don't matter. I'm just telling you, when you look at this UTEP game should be a cakewalk for the Huskers.
Yeah. Well, we don't even know what kind of Northwestern team they had to go and face. Well,
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're sitting here. No, you're arguing here.
You're arguing Northwestern team. Unfortunately, the Huskers lost to a Northwestern team. You guys are getting way ahead of yourselves. We haven't won a first game of the season in 6 years. You can't just come out and say we're going to blow out this team. We've seen what happens. 3-9 followed by 4-8.
It's a blowout. J-Saul, it's going to be a bigger deficit than 2 touchdowns.
Now, T-Saul, I thought you said the Kool-Aid was flowing over here, and Mr. Cynical, I'm going to get on the Fire Matt Rule train, is already back in motion here, and we're not even into full summer camp yet.
Yeah, you know what? I was wrong. Maybe that train still isn't moving. I couldn't tell you. All I know is I got off. I never got on. I looked at it, but I didn't get on.
Look, the Fire the Rule train has been stopped. It has been halted because guess what? I got the Huskers winning game 1-2 against UTEP. However, I don't just come out and think it's going to be an absolute blowout. This is a freshman quarterback coming into some big shoes here at Nebraska. Now, are they some big shoes to fill? We don't really know because we haven't had a quarterback in how many years now? Well, we haven't won a first game of the season in how many years now? So
do you guys hear that? Do you guys hear that? Sounds like a train in the distance for a. I believe it's gonna be a steamroll.
I don't know if we're going to be going with the steamroll there like you, B-Cell. However, I do think
I'm
the
going
Huskers
with
are going to
it.
come out on top.
I'm running with the steamroll.
All right. We all got to win.
We all got the Huskers here starting 1-0, right? Let's move on here because UTEP isn't an exciting game to talk about. Now let's get down to it. You got CU coming to town, the Dion experience, which has really been a letdown. He's run a lot of kids out of town. They've moved conferences now. They're back in the Big 12. I gotta tell you, doesn't matter. That Dion experience for Colorado is going to be a mistake again this year. There's no way the Huskers lose this game. This is a win. This is an easy win.
Wait, do you hear that? Do you hear that? Steamroll. That's what's going to happen, folks. It's coming for them. It ain't stopping. The steamroll train keeps on moving.
Now, again, this one I'm going to be riding with a win, but this has to be because it is in Lincoln, Nebraska, and Colorado has lost so many players, and they are below the scholarship number that other teams are cutting to get to. And guess what? The Huskers are going to come out on top here, like I'm predicting. However, I think this one is going to be a lot closer and isn't going to be a steamroll. And that comes down to the flat out athletes.
How much closer can it be from your UTEP game? You're picking a 2-point win against UTEP. What do you think this Colorado game is going to be? A 1-point game?
Could be a barn burner till the end there, Biso.
Jason, I'm not buying it. I'm telling you this. Do you really think Shadir Sanders can match up to Dylan Raiola?
Jason, I do think that Shadir Sanders is a good quarterback and is going to get drafted pretty dang high. It is going to be interesting to see if their offensive line pans out that they went out and bought everyone. But
Jason,
also, they
does
have
he
better
have number
athletes
one
on the
overall
outside.
Pick potential in him? Because that's what Dylan Raiola's got. Does Shadir Sanders have number one overall potential?
It has been brought up that he could be the number one overall. He could be a top 5 pick next year.
Well, Jason, I'll tell you
the
this.
minute
if
the
he
minute
been
that
number
that
one,
team,
if he would have been number one, he would have already left. I'll tell you that much. This guy ain't going first.
He wasn't leaving because they had a bad year. If Colorado comes out and makes a decent run in the Big 12, Dion goes to the NFL to a terrible team, drafts Shadur number 1, trades at the farm away to get Travis Hunter at number 2, and then he runs the rest of the players out of the team.
I don't think getting the number 1 pick is that easy.
Well, who are you talking here? The Carolina Panthers will probably fire their head coach again.
And you think they're looking Dion?
Why wouldn't they? What do you got to lose at this point?
I don't know. The fact that he only brought Colorado to 4 wins and probably 3 wins after this season. You really think the Panthers are going to be looking at Dion?
Well, the Panthers also did just get a pretty good quarterback a couple of years ago. I don't think they're going to go out and try to get Shadir.
I'm sorry, the midget from Alabama?
National champion from Alabama.
No, I'm with B-Saw on this one. I'm not buying that what the heck's his name? Young? He's not going to be any good. That's a bust.
Yeah. We saw what happened to Jalen Hurts there in Philly there, T-Cell. He's a bust, too.
Jalen Hurts lights it up, my friend. Jalen Hurts lights it up.
Whatever. Moving on from that, we all have a win in Colorado, I'm assuming, since somebody called for a steamroll. Now let's flip it over to the Northern Iowa. Now, this is one that Scott Frost, liked to go there and recruit the players from. This could be a tough game if it was a Scott Frost. Nebraska Cornhuskers. Let me tell you, Huskers on top here. This one, I think the Huskers will be clicking on all cylinders. I got this one as a blowout. Steamroll.
I got a steamroll. No arguments here.
Yeah. Now I got to ask you guys a question here. We're 3 games in. You're 3-0. I'm gonna jump ahead. I'm gonna ask you guys a question that I saw across Twitter the other day. I did shout out the podcast for anybody who's following the Sully Scoop on Twitter. It was a serious question from Husker fans. What is our record going into Ohio State? and I let you guys know, you already know what it is in my mind here. These games aren't going to be close. This is the easiest opening to a schedule we've ever had. You got one trap game that's Purdue in another week when we're 4-0 going into there. But let's be real, going into Ohio State, 7-0, baby. I don't even need to break this down much further.
Now, so we have seen the Huskers play these past, 5, 6, 7 years. When did Bo Pelini leave? I mean, at this point,
I've seen the Huskers play a lot longer than the last 5, 6 years.
You want to call they're going to go 7-0? I am calling BS. They are going to slip up, and when they slip up, they fall in twos. I think the Huskers are going to drop 2 of these games here, and it is going to be versus Illinois and at Purdue. I think the Huskers are going to slip up here and then get back on the train to beat Rutgers and beat Indiana. However, that is going to set them behind the 8 ball here, looking to get bowl eligible.
You just ran through half the season with that take. And also, B-Cell, you got it wrong. I mean, you're talking about only remembering the last 5 years. That's ridiculous, dude. My whiskey tells me I don't remember the last 5 years. I only remember when things were good with Bo Pelini.
Hey, T-Salt, maybe you've had a little too much whiskey as well. I'm not the one who said you watch the last 5 years, you know what you're getting. That's the cynical guy who just picked 2 losses against 2 terrible teams. Purdue's going to have the least amount of wins in the Big Ten this year.
And you're talking about a Brett Bielema.
Everybody, that is a hot take right there.
I will lock it in.
That is a hot take if I've ever heard one. That is it.
Purdue down on your will have the least amount of wins in the Big Ten.
I mean, we play some of the teams that are going to have the least amount of wins, and that comes with Indiana as well.
Is that overall wins or conference wins?
Overall.
Hot take, folks, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it all here first. T-Saul here didn't have the first hot take of the season. It was B-Saul. And yes, if you took the odds on that, you just cashed in big time.
And surprisingly or not, that's probably not going to be the worst hot take we hear this season, as T-Sol's got a few up his sleeves coming at you. But yes, I do have the Huskers slipping up to a Brett Bielema Illinois team that is going to be running the ball. Now, I think the Huskers defense is going to come up and be able to stop them running the ball. However, I think that they are just going to, maybe be able to get a touchdown or 2, and then they're going to hold the ball. They play a Minnesota-style football, and I think Purdue is going to have a bounce-back year compared to last year. And I think once the Huskers fall in 1, they fall in 2s.
Well,
so they're not going to have a bounce-back year. Not unless T-Cell's hot take from last year, Mr. Devin Maccabee, has another 45 touchdowns or whatever T-Cell called.
Sounds like B-Cell's over here pretty salty that he got called out for a hot take.
I don't even care. That's not a hot take. I'm just spitting facts. I'm not out here saying that, good old row the boat PJ is going to get fired.
But he did call for the Northwestern. He called half of that. Now, if T-Cell learned how to shut his mouth at a certain time and just get one in at a time. Nope. He parlayed his hot takes together, and it did not pay off, folks.
It should have paid off because, Minnesota's going to be, after this season, they're going to be wishing they fired PJ Fleck last year because they're going to have to live through another year of crap.
Yeah, T-Cell, Minnesota's down there as well, but Purdue's the worst team in the Big Ten this year, hands down.
So are we coming up on another hot take there, T-Cell? Is this the year that PJ's gone?
This is the year he's gone. There's no way, Jason, there's no possible scenario where PJ Fleck makes it out of the season. The guy hasn't done anything in Minnesota. He hasn't done anything.
Now fired before the end of the season.
Sleeve. Like I said, he's got him up his sleeve, and he's got many more with that one.
Now, T-Cell fired before the season ends, so mid-season he's gone.
I'm thinking if Minnesota thinks that they're going to try and go bowling, he's gone halfway through the season. But they ain't going bowling.
So do they hang on to him through the end? Do they hang on to him till the end of the season, or do they let him go early?
I think they're going to hang on to him until the end of the year and fire him the day after their last game. That's my guess, because that's what these programs, that's what they do.
Any of the loyal listeners here are gonna think that T-Cell just has a vendetta against poor old PJ. And I gotta tell you guys something. You're right. T-Cell spent some time out in Western Michigan, and the day PJ left to take the Minnesota job, he cried for days. It ruined his month. And I gotta tell you something. He never let it go. He's been cheering for him to get fired ever since.
Hey, look, there was a point in time where I thought PJ Fleck was a decent coach, but then I realized he was riding the coattails of the guys before him. The two coaches before him set Minnesota up to what it was today. And you're talking about a guy who has everything going for him in Minnesota. And, what is the season like 7 for this dude? And he comes out last year and wins 5 games. That's ridiculous. I mean, fire. I mean, why even run through another season? I mean, you're going to be lucky to snip 5 wins this season. You're talking about a tougher conference now. Can't be slipping up. And they're going to be slipping. And Biesel, just so you know, the worst team in the conference that you already deemed Purdue, they beat Minnesota last year. So how does that make you feel?
I'm sorry. Wasn't there just an argument that last year doesn't matter?
I never said that.
I'm just saying there was an argument here less than 15 minutes ago about last year not mattering. So I'm gonna piggyback off of that one there, T, and I'm gonna tell you it doesn't matter. But let's get into it, T. You still gotta pick your Illinois game. Illinois comes to Lincoln. What do you got?
I got a dub. We're
Nebraska
goes to
Purdue.
Nebraska ain't losing when we're in town. We were at the Purdue game last year. We watched the blocked field goal return touchdown. That's right, folks. Nebraska shows up when the Scoopers are in town, and that's what's going to go down. And then
Nebraska now Huskers at West Lafayette. T, what do you got?
Well, we ain't losing to the worst team in the conference, according to Biesel, so we're going to blow these guys out.
J-Sol thinks otherwise, but it's good. Rutgers in Lincoln on homecoming.
I don't think Nebraska loses homecoming games.
Boom. Here we go. Last one. Nebraska at IU. Going to Indiana, who J-Sol said was going to be one of the worst teams.
The worst team.
Oh, J-Sol. I'm sorry, T. Did you just call that a trap game?
Trap game. Yep.
So not only did J-Sol just say that Indiana's the worst team in the conference.
Darn right. They were the worst team last year. They're going back-to-back worst teams in the conference. Rutgers is on a heater. So is Northwestern since they got the new coach. And let me tell you, the heater doesn't stop. IU loses to Purdue every day of the week.
But T-Cell is going against you here, Jay. He's given them a win.
Crap game. I'm not guaranteeing an Indiana win, but it's going to be a dog fight. It's going to be a dog fight.
I'm not guaranteeing that Indiana is going to win, in the wise words of T-Cell. However, I'm going to pick it as a loss. Therefore, telling me you're guaranteeing it's a loss.
Well, Biesel, I'm not coming on this podcast to say we're going 12-0 like you. You've done this for 3 years in a row now, and when are you going to learn that you got to stop picking us to go 12-0?
I have not picked us to go undefeated. I've got to start in 7-0.
11-1.
I've got to start in 7-0. We are in the driver's seat here. We're back bowl eligible for the first time in years. Matt Rule, everybody's buying in. Dylan Raiola's the real deal. And let me tell you something. As of right now, I'm 7-0. T's 6-1. Jay's 5-2.
I'm bowl eligible. You're talking about saying. You're bowl eligible. I'm bowl eligible.
Yeah, but you got us losing to the worst.
That's a twofer right there.
You got us losing to the worst team in the conference, according to J-Cell. So
because after we beat who crap, now I gotta go back on my sheet. After we beat Rutgers homecoming, we make a bowl game. We celebrate like we just won the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, we got to come out and go.
No. They act like they've been there.
Been there. But they haven't been there. None of these guys have been there. You can't tell me that they can act like they've been there. None of these guys have snipped a bowl game unless they played for a different team. So here's the thing. Scrap game with Indiana. because then also everybody just realizes like, oh crap, next week we got Ohio State. And that's what makes it the mega trap game. And that's why I'm plugging it as an L. I'm not guaranteeing it's an L, but on my preseason picks, I'm not coming out saying we're going 12-0. Could this team do it? You bet your ass. But I'm not going to be the guy sitting here saying we're going 12-0.
I don't know who's picking them to go 12-0 here, T-Sol.
Do you think
well,
that
sure
they
as
could
hell
go
ain't me
12-0?
because I got the Huskers with 2 losses through Illinois and Purdue. And let me tell you, reality is starting to set in. Reality is rolling. And when we take on Ohio State at Ohio State, it ain't going to be close.
Jason, now let me
aren't
ask
on
you
Ohio
something.
State's level. We're not even close to Ohio State's level yet. We got a freshman quarterback coming in who I think is the best quarterback we've had in, 15, 20 years at least. But is he going to be able to do it game 1, week 1, season 1? I don't think so.
Now, Jason, let me ask you something. Do you really think Purdue is a juggernaut?
I don't think they need to be a juggernaut, and that's why I said it is going to be reality setting in. Do I think Colorado's a juggernaut? No. Do I think UTEP's a juggernaut? No. Do I think Northern Iowa's a juggernaut? No. I think Illinois and Purdue are the best 2 teams we play up until that moment.
So you're saying,
hold on.
Let's just fantasy. You can't picture Nebraska being undefeated up to the Ohio State game. You don't think that they're talented enough to be undefeated.
That's not even the part. That's not even the part that I have to touch on here. Getting to week 4, in the shocker of all shockers, J-Cell said the hardest opponent we face come week 4 is Illinois. No shit, Sherlock. Have you seen Cupcake Row we open with?
Exactly my point, and that's why I said reality is going to be setting in when we take on Illinois. It is going to be a
so we
battle,
go from
and we're going against a team that actually has
so we go from
FCS.
Why even go to the game with this bad attitude?
We go
bad attitude. I'm used to it there,
opponent.
You're coming out here. You got us 9-0 through 6 games already. I mean, let's settle down over there.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here because J-Cell, Illinois is going to be the best team they play by there, but it's not like they're light years better than us. They're not better than us. We're a better team. So let's get on to the Ohio State game. Nebraska goes to Columbus.
How can you say we're a better team?
Then in Illinois, we beat them last year. So why don't you go smoke
last
that
year's
in your
stats
pipe?
don't matter.
They do matter.
All right, what about the year before? How about we got a new quarterback in here? How about,
we had a different coach.
Our coach hasn't brought the Huskers bowling.
Okay.
It's a year 2 for him.
Okay, exactly. I got the Huskers.
Brett brought Illinois bowling.
5-2 the Huskers are at this point. 2 years ago, he had the Illinois bowling.
Now,
not last year.
So you're saying that he brought them bowling and then magically got worse? Oh, that's looking great for the future of Illinois. Illini fans better be excited for that. Same thing with the PJ Fleck factor, baby. 5-7 is a good thing. We're headed in the right direction.
See, so that was the first time we saw 5-7 in 8 years. What are you trying
Minnesota? Minnesota hasn't dipped down to 5 wins since before we joined the conference.
All right, there, T. So let me tell you something. We're dropping game number 3 for us at Ohio State.
So you have us with a 3rd loss now.
Absolutely.
Now, T-Cell, do you have the team getting a 2nd loss when they go to the horseshoe?
Bisa, here's what I'm going to tell you. Trap game. That's right, folks. Ohio State has a trap game, and that's us, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They better watch out when we're coming into town because they don't know what they're going to face. They haven't seen a quarterback like Dylan Raiola in the Big Ten before now, and it's coming for him. And here's why. Here's why it's a trap game. If you look at Ohio State's schedule, they play Oregon on the 12th, okay? So they got Oregon. Then they get a bye week. Then we come to town, and the week right after us, they go to Penn State. We're sandwiched right in between Oregon and Penn State, making us the ultimate trap game for Ohio State. And let's just talk about the fact that Ryan Day is a terrible coach, and he's making Ohio State a worse team overall. So, yeah, they're a vulnerable team. I think the Penn State is better. They're going to be better than Ohio State this year. I think that this is the year they finally pass Michigan, Ohio State, and I think it's going to be Ohio State.
No way. That's
What
not even.
What has Ryan Day, all Ryan Day's done since he stepped in is lose to Michigan?
Yeah. Okay. And what's your big point here? When you look at it,
Urban never lost to Michigan.
Yeah. But I'm just
all
going
the coaches
to the fact
before
here,
that never lost to Michigan.
Now, let me ask you something. When you consider a team a trap game, it would mean that they are inferior, they're not winning, and they're a losing team, correct? That you get upset. You get upset.
No, it just means you don't know who they are.
Okay.
And they don't know who
so
we
you mean
are.
to tell me so you mean to tell me that a team that is 6-1 coming to town, you're gonna overlook because coming off a bye week, so I had an extra week to prepare. I'm concerned about the team that I have the following week. Even if you didn't take that team serious, you have a bye week. You have 2 weeks to prepare. Even if you want to spend the second half of the second week preparing for Penn State, you have a week and a half to get ready.
So why don't you stick to your picks and I'll stick to my picks? When Nebraska wins and I'm dancing in the streets, you can go, be a little sourpuss in the bathroom, crying to yourself.
So you're counting that as a win. You've got to win in the horseshoe. Okay.
He's got going from a loss against Indiana to a win at Ohio State.
Right.
Hey,
because you got to get it together.
Whatever it takes. Now, after the blunder at Ohio State, for the record, I got a loss in the horseshoe. I think most people are going to expect that as well. Then we got UCLA coming to town, new Big Ten team. And let me tell you, UCLA is going to be dismal this year as well. I got a W for the Huskers here.
Dismal, however, we sit at 5 wins in my predictions at this point. And let me tell you something. We ain't getting to 6 just yet. We ain't getting to 6 against UCLA. This team is coming over. And let me tell you something. It is going to look like the Scott Frost matcha. We have to adapt to them.
At this point, I got to take an L for UCLA because I think after beating Ohio State in the horseshoe, we're celebrating again like we won the Super Bowl, and reality's going to set in the next week.
Jeez Louise. You guys didn't do any research on this UCLA team that's just decimated with talent there, but whatever.
That hasn't stopped us before.
A different coach, different mindset. This isn't Scott Frost trotting out against Georgia Southern.
You're right. Okay. We got Matt Rule, who also hasn't made it to a bowl game just yet.
And you're talking about Ryan Day, who hasn't won anything at Ohio State, and you're acting like Ohio State's this unbeatable team.
I'm just trying to figure out, how in your right mind can you have a team lose to Indiana and UCLA and beat Ohio State? No damn sense.
Unpredictable, baby. Unpredictable.
The state of his mind.
Vegas just wants you to pick that as an L, but really it's going to be a win.
Vegas makes money on you.
Yes, J-Saw, they make money on you too.
You're darn right. And that's why I have gone back to the drawing board, and we are re-looking at how I am going to be doing my picks because Vegas has been making money on me. And that's why the following week, after UCLA, we go back-to-back California schools. We're going to Los Angeles, California to take another L, and this one is going to be to the USC Trojans.
J-Saw, let me just tell you something. You're an idiot. There's no chance we're going to lose to USC. USC, what's that? Steamroll. These guys are going to get annihilated. USC is going to be down there in the dumps with B-Sall's Purdue pick for one of the worst teams in the Big Ten.
Absolutely not. UCLA is out here putting together first overall draft picks. We can't even get a draft pick. That is the difference in talent out there. That has nothing to do with USC.
He said USC.
He said UCLA.
Okay, well, either way, T-Cell, I disagree with you on this as well. I think this is where the Huskers pick up their second loss of the season, and I think it's just strictly based on you're coming off, you're going on the road, you're playing in California. The time difference is going to screw with the team. I think they get their second loss of the season against USC.
The only difference in that, I did say UC or USCL. That's right. It came with an L at the end of it there, T-Cell.
Whatever. But here's the thing. USC, from their brutal schedule this year, and I'm going to point it out again, they're going to be dead by the end of the season. They're not making a bowl game. I mean,
we haven't made a bowl game in 7 years.
Doesn't matter. We're not USC. We're not rolling in all 5-star recruits like they are.
Exactly.
Listen to USC's schedule. They start the season with LSU, L. Then they go Utah State. We'll give them a win. Then they got Michigan, L. Then they got Wisconsin, toss up. Then they got at Minnesota. That's a win. I'll give them that. Then they got Penn State, L. Then they got Maryland, toss up. Rutgers, toss up. Washington, L. Nebraska, L. UCLA, L. Notre Dame, L. I count, 4 wins there, Jason?
And I think they're going to be sitting at 5 after this game. I got the Huskers losing that one and moving their record to 5-5 with 2 games left coming for the Huskers at home and at Iowa.
Well, folks, it sounds like Jason got right back on the train that he said he got off of, but apparently his butt never moved.
Yeah, J-Cell, I would agree with you on that. I think J-Cell is just trying to pretend that he believes in this Matt Rule team, but he does not at all.
You're telling me, J-Cell, if it played out the way that you're picking, if the team's 5-5 at this point, you're not screaming to fire the head coach?
J-Cell, 5-5 with 2 games left is a lot of momentum there, and
let's just get it going. You're full of it there, J-Cell. You're completely full of it. You were screaming for his head last year when we were 5-3. And you're telling me when we're 5-5 in his second year, you're not screaming for his head?
Let me tell you, T-Cell, you get the #1 overall recruit and a new quarterback. I am bought in for another year. I think it's tough to go in and win with a freshman quarterback, but I think the sophomore year, if he has a sophomore slump, you better believe I'm coming with a pitchfork.
Now the question is, J-Cell, while you're saying you're bought in, let's get down to it. Do we get bowl eligible then, in your opinion, with Wisconsin coming to town as our last home game of the season?
No, I don't think we're going to beat Wisconsin this year. We haven't beaten Wisconsin in how many years, T-Cell? You would know, over 10?
Since I was a freshman there, so
the 2012 holy cow, season. Like 40 years ago.
2012. We play him every year.
So J-Cell's got him as a loss. T, where are you seeing this team come to?
I got a dub. I mean,
he's called a dub every year.
You need to start beating
Vegas.
These guys,
Vegas keeps making the Big Ten schedule this game because T-Cell keeps losing to them on this one.
They're cashing in enough money there. Listen, T, I would love to see the Huskers come out and beat Wisconsin. I think, however, as you like to look at schedules and talk about trap games and all of this crap, this is going to be the game that puts Wisconsin bowl eligible. Wisconsin beats Nebraska to get to their 6 wins on the season. And unfortunately, it stinks. It ruins Nebraska's perfect home season, in my opinion, but I think they're going to lose to Wisconsin for senior day.
You guys both don't know what you're talking about. At least I'm on the scoop here to pull us in the right direction, because we're definitely going to beat Wisconsin. Wisconsin's been on the downtrend. They got another terrible coach. They're not a good team at all. I mean, we should have really beat those guys last year and just kind of fumbled it away. They didn't do anything to deserve that win. We literally handed them the win for the last 3 years in a row, and we're not doing it again. Now with Dylan Raiola
I don't disagree with you. We did hand them the win. However, Wisconsin has another quarterback transferring in, Tyler Van Dyke coming in from Miami. They've got Ches Maluzzi coming back healthy. They've got Will Pauling still, who killed us last year. We couldn't stop that guy. You stopped everybody else on the team except Will Pauling, their fourth receiver, who I believe had like 3 touchdowns against us. He was out there on one leg at one point. He had torn his hamstring and still ran for a touchdown against us.
Now, B-Sol, are any of those guys named Dylan Raiola?
I don't even need to answer you, T-Cell. I'm just telling you right now, I think Wisconsin's got this game circled the same way the Huskers do. And I don't think there's any way that Wisconsin comes into this, makes it an easy matchup because they're less talented, in your opinion. I think this Wisconsin team comes in. I think they've got it circled at that point, knowing that they have to win to get bowl eligible.
Well, I just needed a short answer of no, because none of them are named Dylan Raiola. And then at that point, I don't care. I don't care who they're bringing in. They don't got anybody named Dylan Raiola. Is this
So why don't you have the Huskers undefeated?
Star? Is this Ches Valuzi an X5 star?
So why don't you have the Huskers undefeated?
Because he's got the freshman learning curves there, J-Sol. That's why we have 2 L's on the season.
Oh, 10-2 is a big learning curve.
Look, listen,
wow, J-Sol, does that mean does that mean he is calling T-Cell's pick for the final game of the season in Iowa City? Are you saying T-Cell's got a dub against Iowa?
What do you got, J-Sol?
I think that T-Cell is going to have a win against Iowa, and I would want to take a closer look at this one myself when it comes time to it. And we are 5-6 going into it. However, I will give this one to Matt Rule that the team finally gets over the hump and gets to a bowl game and finishes 6-6 at Iowa and brings home the Freedom Trophy.
I have Iowa as a loss, and here's why. I think this is the matchup that's going to determine if Nebraska or Iowa is going to play in the Big Ten championship. And I think we're going to lose that game, and Iowa's going to go to the championship and give Kirk Ferentz a little yippee-doo-dee-doo on his way out of town for retirement.
Hold on. I just...
He had a couple hot takes all in one.
Pump the brakes. You have Iowa. Do you remember the Big Ten right now is no longer divisions? It is the top 2 teams in the conference. You are telling me that you have Iowa as a top 2 team in the conference.
But okay, B, so by making that
no,
done no research at all.
No, I'm asking you right now because last year, if it was the top 2 teams in the conference, it wouldn't have been Iowa in the championship game. It would have been Ohio State versus Michigan again. So T-Cell, I repeat the question. Do you really have Iowa as the number 1 or 2 team in this conference?
Well, by the fact that we beat Ohio State and lost to Iowa, then yes, B. So I would say Iowa would have had a better season than Ohio State.
Okay, can we, I don't even want to make this a hot take. I want to put money on this. I'll bet you $100 Iowa's not in the Big Ten championship game.
What? Then you literally then get what, 15 teams? I'm not playing that stupid game.
No. I'm not then doing
I'll bet
that.
you $100 that Illinois is not in the Big Ten championship.
I never said they were going, but I'm telling you right now, there's no way Iowa's going to the Big Ten championship game. All my Iowa fans, all the Iowa fans who hate this podscape. No, it doesn't even matter. Iowa will not be in the Big Ten championship game. Iowa is a terrible football program. They are the epitome of mediocrity like they are every year. And you mean to tell me that you think this team is going to get better when Kirk Ferentz is still upset that they fired his son? Not happening.
Hey, Biso, well, what do you have happening in this Nebraska-Iowa game?
I'm still trying. In the Nebraska-Iowa game, Nebraska's gonna hold on. I heard something. Did you guys hear that? Sounds like a train coming. We're gonna open the season with a steamroll, and we're gonna close the season with a steamroll. This game isn't gonna be close. This Iowa team's gonna score 3 points on us. And Dylan Raiola is going to go out with a bang in Iowa City for the first time. Listen, I get that at Kinnick Stadium, there's the wave in the fourth quarter to all the kids in the hospital beds. I understand that. It's a nice little tradition. But at the end of the fourth quarter, Dylan Raiola is going to be on the sideline waving to the Iowa players as they pack up their crap and head back inside.
Now, is this 2024 B-Soul saying that, or is this B-Soul saying this for the last 6 years? Because I feel like you've said this exact same statement the exact same way against Iowa for the last 6 years, and only one time did that come true. And it wasn't a steamroll because we almost handed the game back to him. We're just lucky that Trey Palmer was the fastest guy on the field at that point.
T-Soul's out here calling you out for that. How many wins do you have against Wisconsin go for these past years?
J-Soul, it should be all wins against Wisconsin because we've blown every game against Wisconsin. Iowa's had a couple games where we weren't even in the game, but Wisconsin, for the ever since Mike Riley took the helm, we've lost by like a freaking last-second field goal in every game. So yeah, B-Soul, I believe you've said this exact same statement against Iowa. And Iowa is a good team, and they'll continue to be a good team. Ohio State, on the other hand, is on the downtrend. That's the difference there.
So you got the Huskers there finishing 9-3. B-Soul's got us 11-1 again, and I got us 6-6. Now we got to know who is going into your Big Ten. Who do you have? This is way too early to even predict, but who is your Big Ten championship game matchup? Other than, who do you have playing Iowa there, T-Soul, the Big Ten championship?
I got Penn State. I got Penn State versus Iowa, and I got Penn State beating Iowa.
I'm willing to put $100 that neither of your teams are in there.
I would double that.
Who do you think is better than those two teams? And who do you get screwed by the Big Ten in their schedule?
I am going to be putting into the Big Ten championship Ohio State and Oregon. I think it's going to be a rematch of earlier in the season. You're going to be over
2 there, Jason. Over 2.
I'm throwing darts at a brick wall. You're throwing darts at a penny. I mean,
who do you have winning that game between Ohio State and Oregon?
At the beginning of the year?
No, in the Big Ten championship game. T-Soul's got Penn State beating Iowa.
I think it's a little early to pick. I think it's going to depend on who wins at the beginning of the season. But I think Ohio State is going to lose at the beginning of the season, but come back and rebound for a win in the Big Ten championship. And I think Ohio State is going to show them at the end of the season.
Well, folks, you all heard it here. J-Soul even admitted it himself. He's throwing darts at a brick wall. None of those are sticking. I don't know why he'd throw darts at a brick wall to begin with. Meanwhile,
you're tossing them at a penny.
I'm throwing them at a corkboard, and they all stick.
You're tossing yours at a penny. It is a small target there.
He's not even close at it. Listen, J-Soul, on the same part of your picks there, it's going to be Oregon, Ohio State. I agree with you. However, I've got Oregon winning the Big Ten in their first season in the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah.
I've got them beating Ohio State. I think Ohio State is not quite as talented. As T-Cell said, Ryan Day doesn't know how to win a big game. So I have Oregon beating Ohio State.
Oregon couldn't even
flapping his wings over there. He's flapping his wings.
Oregon couldn't even win the Pac-12 last year. You think they're just going to come over and win the Big Ten?
I think Oregon did enough to add enough talent to their team that was already good.
Good enough to not win.
Yeah,
but you're telling me you're going from Bo Nix, who was outstanding as a quarterback, and you brought in Dylan.
Nothing.
Yeah,
don't leave that out. He accomplished nothing.
You brought in Dylan Gabriel,
who's never won a big game,
very talented, and he is seasoned. And you brought in a former 5-star quarterback who was playing behind Caleb Williams and transferred out.
You brought in a UCF Dylan Gabriel. Do you remember who else came from
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma. Where was he
Dylan
before?
Gabriel.
Where was he before?
Doesn't matter.
UCF. You know who else came from UCF? Scott Frost, baby. And you know what happened there? When you get to the big show and the big plays, you don't make them. And Dylan Gabriel had a complete terrible year. There's a reason he's transferring out of Oklahoma. He's lucky enough Oregon even gave him an opportunity there. And I think it's going to, turn into the gutter show there. However, he is going to be bringing them to the Big Ten championship.
Can I just tell you what my favorite
it.
part? Can I just tell you what my favorite part about this is? Is you just said Dylan Gabriel isn't a good quarterback. He sucks. You just basically ragged on the guy, and you've got to make it the Big Ten championship game. You've got to be in one of the top 2 teams in the Big Ten, and you just said the guy sucks.
Absolutely, that is because it is the Oregon. That's because Oregon's team.
I'm sorry. How are you going to justify this? You just said that this quarterback
because I don't think any other team in the Big Ten is good. I don't think any other team in the Big Ten is good, and I think Oregon has an easy enough schedule to run the table and be one of the top 2 teams. What am I going to go out there and pick a Michigan team that lost every single person and went undefeated last year? Ohio State's the only other team that has, caliber players to go out there and just win a game based off of sheer talent and speed. And the only other team that's going to be able to win on speed is Oregon.
Jay, so you realize Oregon doesn't play defense, right? You realize Pac-12 played defense for the last 30 years. You realize that, right?
Oh, do they have to go against Iowa, who doesn't play offense? Do they have to go against the Huskers, who haven't, been able to win a game?
They don't have to play either of those 2 teams.
Exactly. Those are the juggernauts of the Big Ten that they don't want to come in and face. No, they got
to play Ohio State. They got to play Michigan. They got to play Washington. They got to play Wisconsin. They got to play Michigan
Washington,
State.
Win.
They got to play UCLA. They got to play B-Cell's pick of the juggernaut in Purdue on the road in West Lafayette. And B-Cell, don't cry too much when Purdue beats Oregon that day. Don't cry too much.
So
Oregon is going to run the table there.
I'm trying to figure out where Purdue is going to get more than 3 wins.
And folks, that's not a hot take. I'm not locking that in. I'm just saying, don't count out these teams in the Big Ten because they short yard you to death. Nebraska had to learn the hard way, and guess who else is going to have to learn the hard way? Frickin' Oregon, frickin' Washington, USC, and UCLA.
And UCLA.
B-Cell, who do you got winning at the beginning of the year, Ohio State or Oregon?
I think Ohio State beats them the first time around. I think that's Oregon's only blemish on the season.
So you have Oregon winning the rest of their games?
Yep.
Dude. So you got them beating Michigan on the road in the Big House.
Yep.
Who does Michigan even have anymore?
Defending national champ Michigan.
Yep. I'm sorry, is Connor Stallions on the sideline?
You betcha.
I thought he
coach, different program, different team, different players.
You think that guy left?
Pretty sure
Michigan's paying that guy for life.
Yeah,
are you kidding? They're paying him for life. He ain't going nowhere.
They're giving him stipends. It's like Bobby Bonilla. He's getting paid, but he's not there. So continue.
Oh, he's there.
So continue.
You have him beating Washington.
Yeah. Penix-free Washington, yes.
You have them beating Ohio State.
No, I just said that's their only blemish on the season is losing to Ohio State.
Tried to trip them up there, folks. You have them beating UCLA on the road.
A UCLA team that might have 4 wins on the season, yes.
Jason, is that a hot take? 4 wins for UCLA?
I said might.
I don't know who UCLA plays like that.
I think Oregon's top 4 in the conference, but I think they just get beat out because Penn State and Iowa just have an easier road.
That is an erroneous take. If there's anybody out there who actually thinks Iowa and Penn State are going to be the 2 representatives in the Big Ten championship aside from you, please let them speak up or forever hold their peace. Because if that does come up, and nobody said a word, T-Cell, I'm taking you to Vegas.
Okay, listen to Penn State's schedule before you rip them apart too much, because Penn State's been 3rd in the Big Ten for like the last 6 years, and they're ready to
and they're going to tie with the Huskers with a 9-3 record for 3rd in the division.
So we're skipping non-conference games because those don't matter. Even though they got a cakewalk, those don't matter.
Yep, that's fine.
They start against Illinois. Penn State will beat Illinois. It's not up for debate. Then they got UCLA. Both of these games at home. As Bissell said, UCLA is lucky to snip 4 wins. So that's definitely a win. Then they go on the road at USC. I'm telling you right now, USC is going to be a dumpster fire this year. As Jason mentioned, gutter show.
I expect
USC
to win most of their home games. That is my opinion.
That's an erroneous take there, Bissell.
Erroneous, not erroneous. Erroneous take.
That's what I said. Then they go on the road to Wisconsin, okay? Wisconsin is a terrible team. They don't match up to Penn State at all in the slightest. That's a win. Then they got Ohio State at home. And as we talked about, Nebraska's going to beat them the week before. And that's going to be the double slap with the salmon, as Jason liked that call from a couple weeks ago. Then they got Washington at home. Washington ain't the same team as last year. We all know that. Then they got Purdue on the road, Bissell's worst team in the conference. Then they got Minnesota on the road, who might or might not have PJ Fleck at this point. And then they got Maryland at home. That's Penn State's entire schedule. And you're telling me they're not going to the Big Ten championship game?
Yeah.
They ducked Michigan and Ohio State. Both of them.
Now, T-Cell, I got a quick question for you. What's your biggest knock on Ryan Day?
Let's see here, Bissell. He hasn't done anything.
Okay. So let's stop right there.
Was set up here, and he's moved them here.
Okay, so just hear me out. Just hear me out. You said Ryan Day has not done anything, correct? That's correct. What you're sticking to. Okay.
I'm sticking to it.
Okay. So if Ryan Day hasn't done anything and he's here, wouldn't that mean that James Franklin, who hasn't done anything in a longer period of time, would be here, down below Ryan Day?
State from here to here, and they've stalled, and they're trying to get up. Meanwhile, Ryan Day took Ohio State. You couldn't even see them. They were way up here, and now you can see them. They're right there. That's what he's done. Jason, would you agree that Urban Meyer did a better job at Ohio State?
Absolutely. Urban Meyer turned around Ohio State just like
nobody said that Ryan Day's done a better job than Urban Meyer at Ohio State, you moron.
Well, you would be an idiot if you did.
Oh my God. Can we stop talking about this erroneous take that T-Sol has on his Big Ten championship teams? I've already got them written down. So when both of those teams miss out and he goes, well, I never said that. I said it was going to be Oregon and Michigan, or I said it was going to be whoever's in the game. We know it's not. We're going to release it. Everybody's going to know who you picked, and everybody's going to laugh at it because this is a joke.
No, Bissell. The only joke here is you and not believing that this is going to happen, because those two both have easy schedules this year, and they'll be able to get it done.
So for the final record here, let's just let everybody know T-Sol and myself both have the Huskers finishing with a 9-3 record. Losses to different teams across the board there. J-Sol has the Huskers squeaking out bowl eligibility at 6-6 there. Now, guys, on to an important take here. Who is your offensive MVP for this Husker team?
Well, if it's not Dylan Raiola, you're just a flat-out idiot. That is the game changer that we have been missing for the Huskers going forward on offense. It has been a quarterback that has known how to not only close out a game, win a game, but also hold on to the football.
Yeah, easy pick here, Bissell. Dylan Raiola for sure is going to be offensive MVP this season.
You know, I think we all can agree on one thing here, guys. The man, the myth, the legend, number 15, going to take it home this year, going to get the Huskers back to bowl eligibility. It's absolutely going to be Raiola as the top-down offensive player of the year. I got to tell you guys, the second guy that I really think everybody needs to watch out for, Jalen Lloyd. Kid is going to light up the scoreboard with Raiola at quarterback. Raiola is going to be our top offensive player, but I'm telling you, Jalen Lloyd is going to put up some freaky stats like Tyreek Hill did in Kansas City.
I don't think so, Beasel. I think it's the ball is just going to be shared too much. There's going to be too many guys doing things on different days to where it might be a running back going off one day. It might be, 2 wide receivers this day, 2 different wide receivers the next, tight end one day. And it's all going to center around Raiola for sure. So you might even be able to point the blocking after Raiola because he's just going to share the ball way too much.
So as we all had the same offensive guy, I'm sure on this defensive side of the ball, I'm sure we all got a different guy, or at least a couple of us do. Who do you guys have as your defensive MVP?
I got Nash Hutchmacher. I mean, there's no chance that this guy's not going to be the biggest playmaker on our defense.
Absolutely. I got the polar bear. And now listen, he cut weight for wrestling and now he's coming back. He's going to be faster than he was last year. I think it's Nash here 100%, but I do want to say that he is going to be opening up the defensive front and breaking down the blocks from the offensive line because he's going to be getting double teamed. That is going to open up a hole for maybe a Ty Robinson.
Yeah, I think that defensive line is going to stay fresh again this year. I think there's going to be a lot of switching in and out. Jamari Butler, Cam Lenhart, Princewell, MJ Sherman, Nash, Ty, all of those guys are going to have a ton of impact on the game. But let me tell you guys something. I have a feeling here. He's got to get healthy. He was banged up during springtime. Bly Hill, the cornerback, has a real good opportunity here to be our best defensive back on the field. And I think he has a very good opportunity to be our defensive MVP, assuming he's healthy by the start of the season. If he's not, I'm going to have to tell you that I'm going to lock in John Bullock as our defensive MVP. I'm putting in Bly Hill, but if he doesn't play, look for John Bullock, middle linebacker.
Can't argue there. I mean, there should be a bunch of studs on this defense that have potential to really light it up. We'll see. I mean, as a unit last year, they were great, and we only expect them to improve this year.
That's exactly it. I think the Huskers are going to bounce back with this defense and finally become bowl eligible. But in reality, it comes down to our quarterback there at the helm, and that's Dylan Raiola. But I want to thank you for joining us for another episode of the Sully Scoop, where we broke down our Nebraska Cornhuskers schedule prediction and record prediction for 2025. Psych, 2024. But don't forget to follow and like, and you can leave a comment at Sully_Scoop on Twitter to let us know your prediction of the Huskers schedule this year that you have going forward. We know it's a little too early to tell, but also check us out at the Sully_Scoop.com.
There's no underscore there, J-Sul. It's just at the Sullyscoop.com. Find our website, link us there. You can get to any of our pages there as well. You can reach out to the panel here through email. You can also comment to be part of the grandstand gossip when the season gets underway as well.
I'm J-Sul.
I'm B-Sul.
And I'm T-Sul. Go Big Red.